What is the most hilariously incorrect thing a teacher told your class? If a bug was in an airplane, it would not be able to fly forward because it could not fly faster than the plane was moving. If a human is on an airplane, they cannot walk to the front of the plane, as a human cannot walk faster than a plane. Computer teacher told us, if you use cut on an image on a website, that it will be removed from the website and will upset the website maker, so be sure to use copy. My grade 6 teacher told me that fatigued was in fact not a word when I used it in a short story and insisted that I looked in the dictionary, found it in the dictionary in about 2 minutes, and proved her wrong in front of the whole class. When I was first getting started in it at a school district, I had a teacher put in a work order because spell check was not working. I showed up and she explained that she had many kids with spelling errors and I needed to fix it. After 20 minutes with the computers, I came back up and took a look at the papers. She had half the class line up and show me their spelling errors. Now I'm in no way good at spelling, never have been. But when I started looking at these, I had to stifle my laughter. The first one was epically, and the student meant especially. The next one was faceting, fitting, and cutting gems for jewelry. The teacher looks me dead in the face and goes, see, that's not a word. There were 8 others, all the same thing. While teaching Japanese history, my teacher was entirely convinced that the suicide of a Japanese samurai was called Sudoku instead of seppuku. The teacher put materials from plants and materials from animals on a board. We could not convince her that wool was not a plant. When I was in kindergarten, our homework assignment was to ask our parents what country they were from, so the teacher could show us on the globe where it was. Younger me was so excited. I went home and asked my mom where she was born, and she told me her family was from Malaysia. All day I practiced and practiced. I couldn't wait to share this info with my teacher. When I went to school the next day, I told my teacher that my mom is from Malaysia. With a look of utter disappointment, my teacher informed me that Malaysia was not a country, and I needed to ask my mom again. I was crushed that my mom would lie to me like that, or that she was wrong. Either way, little me cried to her and told her that my teacher said Malaysia is not a country. So mama was not happy that I was told this and came with me to school the next day to give the teacher a piece of her mind. To this day, I've never seen my mother get so red in the face while yelling at my teacher. After she was through, I quickly got an apology and a geography lesson on where Malaysia was. When transferring schools, teacher, so you're from Mexico? Me, no, I'm from New Mexico. Teacher, got it, so you're Mexican. Was the student visa program difficult? Me, no visa needed. I'm from New Mexico. It's between Texas and Arizona. Teacher, did you live near cartels? This was an American history class in high school. That a Big Mac from McDonald's overwhelms your stomach with so much of everything that it doesn't register you've eaten anything, and that's why you get hungry again so quickly after. I'll start. A teacher of mine told us that the left side of your body, your feminine side, the right side is your masculine side. That's why your skin is better on your left, your right is stronger, etc. God, what the hell? She showed us the flag of the United Kingdom and said this is the flag of America. I grew up in England, but did part of my high school in the US. One of the teachers there organized a thing where we were volunteered to read stories to elementary school kids. After reading my story, I guess the teacher felt the need to make note of my accent to the class. She asked me to tell the kids where I was from. I said I'm from England, and she did that thing teachers do where she repeats the info to the kids, but she says, "Did you hear that, kids? She's from England. That's in London." I tried a little bit of a correction actually. I'm from England, and she just repeats to the kids, "Yes kids, England, that's in London." I was too shy at that age to call her out on it, but it still makes me cringe to this day. That caffeine isn't a drug, apparently, because according to her, you couldn't get addicted to it. That dogs evolved longer faces so they could smell things around corners. That Tsarina was the first name of the wife of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, and not her title. She understood that Tsar was Nicholas's title, and not his name, but could not apply the same logic to Alexandra. She insisted that Tsarina was her given name, and no amount of arguing would change her mind. I'm still annoyed about this 20 years later. English is my second language, and during English class, one of the students asked her what did lion cub mean. She says it means lion cube. No, it doesn't make any more sense in my native language. Past tense of drink is dranked. This is what can happen in English class when the teacher's first language is not English. Sodomize instead of cauterize the wound. All lights are outfitted with cameras for the government, so we shouldn't use them. You don't need to know about periods yet because you aren't 16. I was 12 and had them for a year. We were playing a game where you had to name a thing beginning with each letter of the alphabet. I said orangutan for row and my cookery teacher stopped and shouted no orangutan is wrong, it starts with an A. Have you ever been to a zoo and seen one? She wouldn't let me prove it and I lost the game because of it. It's been 7 years and I still can't forget it. We got taught in science that our tongues have different areas of taste. Had to do an experiment where we put a sugar cube/lemon on different parts of the tongue, etc. Supposedly we had a sour area, a sweet area and so on. So putting lemon on the sweet part of your tongue would mean it wouldn't taste sour/bitter. Well, I spent that whole experiment thinking it didn't matter where I put it, it all tasted the same. I said that and the teacher looked at me like I was being purposefully disruptive. The rest of the class said it worked. I figured something was wrong with my tongue. Years later I heard they debunked that theory. Sound moves really fast, so distance doesn't matter. You can hear something just as well from across the room as if you were sitting next to the noisy thing, because it takes less than a second for the sound to reach you. Don't know if that counts, but we had the police come to our class and warn us of the dangers of drugs. They told us some people inject cannabis with a syringe. Doesn't matter how good the rest of the presentation was, they've lost all credibility with that and probably did more harm than good with that talk. Had a history teacher who said you could easily shoot a longbow a mile. I told she was wrong, and to prove a point she phoned my dad, a longbow instructor. Then she straight up lied to the class and said he'd agreed with her, assuming I wouldn't find out, I guess. Deoxygenated blood is blue. Oxygenated blood is red. That's why your veins look blue, but if you draw blood it is red. I don't know how many people thought this was true, but I swear I heard it multiple times from several teachers during elementary school. Mrs. Stanford in my 8th grade history class told us that people invented sleep because they were bored. It was a test question too. I told my mother about it, and my mother actually called the principal's office to talk to him about it. The lady was actually teaching kids that crap. There's a big difference between us falling asleep when we are bored and us inventing sleep because we were bored. My economics teacher said that simple interest and compound interest were the same thing. I spoke up about it in class and she took me into the hallway and told me not to disagree with her again. My college sociology teacher said that criminality is genetic and that if one or both of your parents are criminals, so will you be, regardless of environmental factors. Was really pleased with himself because he thought nobody could prove him wrong. Informed him that I was adopted at birth. BC my biological father was in prison and my mother couldn't support me, and I had never commit any crime. I wouldn't even drink underage. He got flustered and angry and said, you haven't yet, but you will. Jokes on him. I'm a good boy. First I thought about how a nun that was teaching religion in my 1st grade said that if you put your hands to prayer facing downward you will go to hell, and if upwards you will go to heaven. But then I thought, who am I to say she was wrong? One of my secondary school teachers announced to his class that you couldn't see the Southern Cross star pattern from the Southern Hemisphere. As students questioned his statement, he made each one stand in the corridor outside the classroom. With most of the class standing in the corridor, the principal walked past and asked why we were all there. After a short explanation, the principal asked the teacher to come to his office and gave the class free time. If I recall correctly, we didn't see the teacher for a few days and then he returned to admit his mistake. One of my first teachers told the class that the sea is blue because it's a reflection of the sky. That same teacher, later in the year, told the same class that the sky was blue because it was a reflection of the sea. We lived on land. The sky should be green or brown, the sea being only a reflection of a reflection. should be copying that green or brown. I pointed this out, began to present the correct answer, and was promptly sent out of the room for being disruptive.